So, very good morning to all my dear students. Let us start with the Industrial Pharmacy 2. So, in Industrial Pharmacy 2, we are studying the pilot plant scale up techniques. Already, most of the details we had gone through. We are on to the scale up of solid dosage form. Most of the details already we had covered. Only few points has been left, that is the tablet coating. Now that we will cover today, and after that we will go for the process of pilot plant scale up associated with the liquid, and if time permit we will go for the scale up technique associated with the semi solid products. So let's cover a bit of point which has been left from the scale up for the solid dosage forms, that is the tablet one. So the tablet that will be subjected to that of the coating for various reasons, in order to protect, in order to mask the test, and there are a number of reasons, intentions for which the coating that is to be given. Here we need not to go into the details of the same. We know that there are film coating, there are sugar coating, there are enteric coatings. And during scale up, due consideration need to be given to the process of coating itself. So sugar coating is carried out in conventional coating pans that all of you knows, you have studied well in the last semester, has undergone many changes because of new development in coating technology, like say the spraying, like say the aeration, like say the geometry of the pan, and changes in safety and environmental regulations. Most of the time we are using the volatile solvents, so the fumes of those solvents that will produce harm onto that of the operator's health. So the safety also, that is one major concern which is to be considered during the scale up, and by considering that at the top, that is the human health, the modifications that will occur, and that too we need to understand, we need to consider. The conventional sugar coating pan has given way to perforated pans or fluidized bed coating columns. The conventional sugar coating pans, you know, it is just like a pan, it is just like a drum. But because of certain limitations, we came with the perforated pan, so that the removal of the fumes that becomes possible. At the same time, the process of drying that can be enhanced. Or fluidized bed coating columns. Yes, the air that is injected and the tablets that will be allowed to flow. The development of new polymeric materials has resulted in a change from aqueous sugar coating and more recently to aqueous film coating. So the shellac that is mostly used, isn't it? So now we are getting such a kind of polymeric material which do not require, or which is going to be totally replacing the sugar coating, and which will be requiring just aqueous film coating, that's it. So that will carry out the purpose of the sugar coating. The tablets must be sufficiently hard to withstand the tumbling to which they are subjected in either the coating pan or the coating column. Here, the hardness that is of great concern, because when it is the tumbling coater, when it is the column coater, when it is the FBD coater, in that time, at that time, in those equipments, the tablet that will be subjected to that of the jumping, to that of the falling. So if the hardness is not sufficient, then in that case, such tablets may subject to that of the friability, or they may get broken down. So again, this is the concern. So hardness, that is most important one. The newly developed polymeric materials and the new technologies like say the perforated pans, the FBDs. So all along with the safety, all these plays an important role during the process of scaling up during the coating technology. Some tablet core materials are naturally hydrophobic, and in these cases, film coating with an aqueous system may require special formulation of the tablet core and or the coating solution. The tablet core material are naturally hydrophobic. If the nature is hydrophobic, then in that cases we require the special kind of formulation of the tablet core and the coating solution with the aqueous system. A film coating solution may have been found to work well with a particular tablet in small lab coating pan, but may be totally unacceptable on a production scale. That is what is the scale up. What we are performing in the lab, the same may not be applicable commercially for the production scale. This is because increased pressure and abrasion to which tablets are subjected when batch size is large and different in temperature and humidity to which tablets are exposed while coating and drying processes. How many number of tablet we are producing in case of lab? Just hardly 50, 100 or maximum 250 or up to 500. That's it. What is the weight of this number of tablet and how many number of tablets are produced at production scale, at large scale, at a commercial scale? It is in the form of the thousands or in the lakhs of the tablets. So that will subject to that of the temperature difference, that will subject to that of the weight difference, that will subject to that of the humidity. The environment in case of commercial plants, that is strictly regulated one as per the regulatory agency guidelines. But every time the same may not be possible for us to maintain at a lab scale. So that's why this is because the increased pressure and abrasion to which the tablet are subjected when batch size is large and different in temperature and humidity to which the tablet are exposed while coating and drying process. The conditions are different from lab, from institutional to that of the commercial one. So now we will come to an end of the scale-up processes and the considerations during the solid dosage form as far as the tablet is concerned. So we had covered just now the tablet coating, and as far as the remaining details are concerned, already we had covered in our previous lectures. Let's move to the pilot plant design for the liquid orals and the different considerations. The flow of our talk that will move through the steps of liquid manufacturing process, some of the critical aspects of liquid manufacturing related with the solutions, suspensions and emulsions, and formulation aspects of the oral liquids, again with the same solution, suspension and the emulsions. The physical form of a drug product that is pourable displays Newtonian or pseudoplastic flow. Newtonian and pseudoplastic flow. What is the Newtonian flow? What is the pseudoplastic flow? While studying the suspensions, last year we had studied all these suspensions, Newtonians and the non-Newtonians, Bingham flow, pseudoplastic flow, isn't it? What is the Newtonian flow? We have to consider the shear rate with that of the shear stress in both the cases, Newtonian as well as the pseudoplastic. Now, when there is a direct relationship, when one will get increase, another will also get increase. So that relationship is said to be the Newtonian. So that is the relationship between the viscosity and the shear rate and the shear strength. So there is a direct proportion. The same case may not be there in case of the pseudoplastic, because this is the particular graph showing the pseudoplastic relationship between the shear rate and the shear stress, right? So as the shear rate that will goes on increasing, the shear stress that will goes on decreasing. So that means the viscosity that will goes on decreasing. So that is the case associated in case of the liquid formulation, more specifically when we are talking about the emulsions and the suspensions, or the liquid formulation which will be of viscous nature up to certain extent. So the physical form of a drug product that is pourable displays Newtonian or the pseudoplastic flow behavior and conforms to its container at room temperature. So again, based on the temperature, these will get affected. So we need to maintain the proper system as per the requirement. Liquid dosage forms may be dispersed system or the solutions. When it is dispersed, it is the biphasic, either liquid in liquid or solid in liquid. If it is the liquid in liquid, it is the emulsion. If it is solid in liquid, it is the suspension. Whereas solution, these are such systems which will contains the dissolved solute into the solvent. So that is the dispersed system and the solution. In dispersed system, there are two or more phases, whereas one phase is distributed into the another, like suspension and emulsion, in which the particles and the liquid that is suspended, that is dispersed respectively. A solution refers to two or more substances mixed homogeneously, right? So there is no clear distinction between the solvent and the solute phase, or the dispersed phase and the continuous phase, right? So that's why it is said that it is the solution one. So there is a homogeneity, there is a uniformity, there is a evenness, there is a identity. Steps required in liquid manufacturing processes. Just for understanding what are the different steps that are involved in liquid manufacturing process, you can remember it as PPFPQ. Note that PPFPQ, it is not the standard abbreviation. I repeat, PPFPQ, it is not the standard abbreviation. It is just for our understanding in order to remember all these four steps. The first P, that is nothing but the planning of the material requirement. The second P, that is the liquid preparation. The F, that is the filling. P, that is the packing. And Q, that is the quality assurance. So what are the different steps that are involved in liquid manufacturing process? It is the planning of the material requirement, it is the preparation of the liquid, it is the filling and packaging, and it is the quality assurance. Critical aspects of liquid manufacturing. Now, these has to be considered, and these will play an important role during the process of the scaling up. So the first and most important, that is the physical plant, the proper system of heating of the liquids, ventilation and the air controlling system. The effect of long processing times at suboptimal temperatures should be considered in terms of consequences on the physical and chemical stability of ingredients as well as the products. The physical and chemical stability. Stability, that is most important one, isn't it? During the shelf life, either it may be physical, either it may be chemical. Chemical oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, isomerization, racemization, physical size, shape, particle size, the different parameters like say the polymorphism, crystallization, right? So all this, they may get affected if we are not monitoring and maintaining the processing time, its duration, the temperature which is required during the manufacturing. There are various examples because of which, if these are not maintained and if attention is not given, the batch fails and the company has to withdraw the product from the market, which will subject to that of the huge loss to the manufacturers. Now, why preparation of the solutions, we need to give consideration toward various parameters. These are self-explanatory. The first is that is the tank size, what should be the diameter, what should be the volume which we require. So based on the volume, one should go for selection of a particular tank size. The type of impeller, which type of impeller? What are the impeller? Impeller, these are the devices that are used for the process of the mixing. What type? Whether it is bladed one, whether it is plain, whether it is flat, right? Whether these are curved. If it is curved, what is the dimension? What is the length? What is the breadth? So that all, that is the type. Impeller diameter, yes, how much it should be based on the size of the tank, the size of diameter of the impeller, that should be determined one, and that should be selected one. The rotational speed of the impeller, the speed that should be ideal one, because if the speed that will goes on altering, if it is too much high, if it is too much less, if it is too much high, it may lead to the process of entrapment of the air, that will lead to the process of bubble formation. If it is too much low, it may lead to the process of improper mixing. So the rotational speed, that is also important. The number of impellers, the number of impeller, again, that is directly proportional to the process of mixing. As we will go on increasing the number of the impeller, the process of mixing, that will be improved. Number of baffles. Baffles, these are the devices which are used to ensure the proper mixing, which are attached to the inner walls of the tank or the mixers. The mixing capability of the impeller. Based on the type of impeller, the capability that will goes on changing. Clearance between the impeller blade and the walls of the mixing tank. Their geometry, their shape, their dimensions, they should be such that that will be easy to clean. That should be easy to clear. That should be easy to drain. Height of the filled volume in the tank. Most of the time, the headspace, that is required one, because during the process of mixing, sometime the foam generation that will occur, and that will create the pressure. So in order to reduce that one, there is need to have the headspace, and that can be determined by maintaining the suitable height of the tank. Filtration equipment. The filtration equipment, they should be such that they should not remove the active constituent or the active adjuvants which are added into the formulation. Transfer system, yes, this is also important one, because based on the viscosity, again, this will affects. If the proper transfer system is not there, that will lead to the improper or incomplete transfer of the contents. Passivization of the SS. SS, that will stands for the stainless steel. Passivization is what? Passivization, it is a process of treatment. It is said to be the pre-reacting. It is nothing but the pre-treatment of the SS with the acetic acid and the nitric acid solution to remove the surface alkalinity of the stainless steel. If the SS, if the stainless steel is not treated with these, they may lead to the leakage of the alkali, so which will affect the stability of the actual product during its shelf life. What are the parameters that are to be attended in case of an suspension? So the addition of the suspending agent or the dispersing agent. The type of suspending agent, its amount, that is to be determined one. Again, the same kind of suspending agent which we are using in case of lab, the same amount, that may not be applicable. The method which we are using during lab, that may not be applicable. We have to select the proper system which is suitable for the commercial scale. Let us say, for example, for lab scale, we may go for use of the sprinkling method. But for production scale, as the quantity is large, so there we are using the vibrating feed system. Hydration and wetting of the suspending agent in order to ensure the complete mixing. This is a required one. Time and temperature required for hydration of the suspending agent. Yes, very true. The duration and the temperature. Because as per the specification, as per the details, that should be there. Mixing speed, high speed leads to air entrapment. Already I explained this, because the air entrapment that may leads to the bubble formation, and if air that will get entrapped, the oxygen from the air, it may interact, it may react with that of the product, and it will affect its stability in the form of producing the oxidation or oxidizing the product. Let's say it is more prominent in case of the oil containing preparations. Selection of the equipment according to the batch size. Based on the batch size, one has to select the equipment in order to prevent the loss, in order to make it easy to handle. Versatile, these are the devices or these are the provisions which are used in order to avoid the air entrapment and to further stop the process of consequences that will occur because of entrapped air. Mesh size, the one which is chosen must be capable of removing unwanted foreign particulates, but should not filter out any of the active ingredient. Such a sieve can only be selected based on production batch size trials. So again, that is what we are doing in case of the pilot plant. When it is the emulsion, what the parameter we have to consider during the scale-up process? So it is the temperature, appropriate temperature is required because it will contain the oils and they may subject to that of the process of affecting their stability if it is not properly maintained. Mixing equipment, homogenizing equipment in process or final product filters, screen, pumps, filling equipment, phase volumes, phase viscosities, phase densities. All these we had already explained and they will be having their significance. And we need to pay our attention toward all these parameters when we are considering the process of scale up while selecting or while performing or while scaling up the emulsion type of formulations. Now, when we are going for the process of formulation, the certain aspects that should be considered. Now, if it is the solution, the protection of the API, because solution generally it may not contain every time the number of excipients or the additives. So in such a case, the effect of the solvent may lead to the degradation of the active pharmaceutical agent. So it should be prevented by adding the buffers, antioxidants, and the preservatives from the process of changing in the pH, oxidation, and the microbiological attack. Maintaining the appearance that can be maintained with the help of addition of the coloring agents, stabilizers, co-solvents, and the antimicrobial preservatives. The taste and smell that can be improved, that can be masked, that can be enhanced with the help of addition of the sweeteners and the flavoring agents. If it is the suspension, then what is the purpose and what are the agents that we are adding that need to be considered during the process of scale up? Facilitating the connection between API and the vehicle. In order to carry out this, we are adding the wetting agent, we are adding the salt forming ingredients, because the salt formation, that is enhancing, that is improving the process of solubilization. Every time the solubilization that is not improved by the process of salt formation, but it may lead to the masking of the taste, it may lead to the process of uh, increasing the duration of action, like say the sustained release or the controlled release kind of formulations. Protecting the API. So in order to protect, again, as we told, we need to add the buffering system. In order to maintain the pH, we should add the polymers, we should add the antioxidants in order to prevent the process of oxidation. Maintaining the suspension appearance, we need to add the coloring agent, suspending agent, flocculating agent, and masking the unpleasant taste and smell, we need to add the sweeteners and the flavoring agents in case of suspensions. When we are talking about the emulsions, the particle size, that is of great importance. In case of emulsions, the droplet size and the solid particles that will play an important role. They should be in the specified range. Protecting the API with the help of the buffers, antioxidants, polymers, maintaining the appearance by using the coloring, emulsifying, penetration enhancers, and the gelling agents, and the masking the taste and smell with the help of use of the sweeteners and the flavoring agents. So these are all required in case of the liquid formulations. So that is what is the scale up in case of the liquid products. What are the liquid products? Solution, suspension, and the emulsions. What we saw the different scale up aspects associated with the manufacturing, associated with the formulation, and the concentration that is to be given to them. Next is the scale up process for the semi-solid products. Now, once we had gone through the solids and the liquids, the very few points that will remain for the semi-solid, because these are neither liquid, these are neither solid. So what aspect we had studied for the solids and liquid, based on that we can draw some conclusion and we can set certain scale up considerations for the semi-solids. So what are all these? These are some 10 to 11, and as you can see onto the slide, for semi-solid one, we need to consider the mixing equipment. The mixing equipment that should effectively move semi-solid mass from outside wall to the center and from bottom to the top of the kettle, because the nature is semi-solid. It is difficult to handle. It is highly viscous one. So it is important that it should be moved properly. The motors. In order to carry out the process of mixing, the power of motor, the driving force which is used in order to carry out the mixing in case of the viscous products like the semi-solids. So motors used to drive mixing system and must be sized to handle the product at its most viscous stage. Mixing speed, we have to consider the air entrapment and its effect onto the product, its content, and the ultimate stability. Compound homogenization, the uniform mixing process that need to be considered, and that is important one, to ensure the content uniformity, to ensure the drug uniformity. That is the uniform distribution. Heating and the cooling process, addition of the active ingredients, product transfer, working temperature. For semi-solid, the working temperature, that is very, very crucial and critical as far as the quality of the final product is concerned, because alteration that may lead to that of the reduction into the viscosity, and reduction into the temperature that may lead to that of the high viscosity. And if the temperature is too much high, that may lead to the affecting the quality of the product in the form of the chairing of the product. Shear during handling and transfer from manufacturing to holding tank to the filling lines. That is the rate of shear and the shear stress. Because the pressure and the speed at which we are operating, to transfer it to the filling lines. So at that time, if the viscosity that will get affected, so that is not desirable as far as the product characteristics, product properties are concerned. Transfer pumps. The transfer pumps, they must be able to move viscous material without applying excessive shear and without incorporating air. So we need to design, we need to develop, and we need to use such a advanced systems which do not require application of the excessive pressure, which will subject to that of the shear stress, shear rate, and which require the incorporation of the air. If the air is there, it will affect the product. While choosing the size and type of pump, we should consider the following aspects, that is the product viscosity, pumping rate, product compatibility with the pump surface, and the pumping pressure which is required. That should be considered in case of the semi-solid scale-up process. So that is what is all about the scaling up in case of the semi-solid dosage form. So with this today, we will stop at this point only.